So we've got our machine now positioned over our panel. Just a quick word about the panels. This particular panel is just a standard micro rib Kingspan panel. No matter what the panel is, you need to make sure that the panel protective film is peeled off the panel, particularly where the suction pads are going to locate. You can't apply suction through the suction pads onto a film on the panel. So make sure the films are off. In terms of panel balance, this is going to be a vertical lift, so we're positioning our machine approximately a third of the way down from the panel top edge. There's no hard and fast rule. It's normally a quarter to a third of the way down from the top of the panel. That will ensure that when we lift it, the panel will start to rotate as it comes off the pack of panels. So we're just going to lower the machine down onto the panel surface now. If you keep the machine square to the panel length as much as you can, make sure all the weight of the machine is now bearing down onto the panel. That ensures that the suction pads are in close contact with the panel surface. And then when you're ready, simply operate that suction by rotating this vacuum lever upright. So I'll just explain a couple of things there and repeat that. As I've rotated this upright, it's clicked into a locking device. So when you come to release suction, once the panel is secured, you need to squeeze this back part and pull that handle down. Sometimes best to do it with two hands. As soon as you do that, the machine vents, the suction's lost, and the suction pads will let go of the panel. So obviously you don't do that until the panel is secure and safe to do that. I'm going to apply suction again, and I'm going to pan round and show you what happens to the vacuum gauge. So you have noticed there, as I applied vacuum, the gauge swung round through the red zone and into the green zone. And once it gets to 0.6, the beeper, the warning sound goes off, the red light goes off and the green light comes on, and at that point it's safe to lift. The vacuum pump continues to run until the vacuum gets well above that trigger point, and it has like a range it operates in. So as it leaks vacuum, which it always will do, particularly with profile panels or leather grain surfaces like this, eventually the vacuum will drop to a point at which the vacuum pumps trigger and come back on. All that is doing is topping up the vacuum level, and it's meant to do that, so don't panic if you hear the vacuum pumps running. The main thing is, if the red light's on and the warning sounder is sounding, don't lift. Once the green light's on, you can lift. It's safe to lift at that point. So now we're ready to lift this panel, and we're going to lift it slightly off the pack or off the ground below and apply the secondary safety strap. On the first panel you're lifting, you probably have to tension the safety strap. You need it tight enough so that there's not a lot of excess hanging loose, but not too tight. You need still to be able to clip the loop into the hook easily and take it out again. Once you've tensioned that, it should be the same for all panels. So at that stage, you'd normally now be ready to lift, but we're not going to. I'll just explain a couple of things before you do so. Obviously, I mentioned the importance of this pivoting arrangement, and this pivot locking pin needs to be in the free floating position. As you see, as we've lifted the panel, the pads themselves have pivoted slightly. That's because as the machine goes up with the panel, they need to continue pivoting to allow the panel to hang upright. And then the second thing to note about that is, as you're lifting the panel, the bottom edge of the panel will need some control. If you don't control that, that will scrape across the panel below it and scratch the panel surface. So as you're lifting, one or two people need to come to the bottom edge and control that take the weight of it or put something underneath it to allow it to slide along the panel below without damaging that panel. Once you're happy with that, you can continue the lift. And eventually, if your crane goes high enough, I'm not sure ours does, eventually the bottom edge will be clear of the ground and the panel will be hanging behind the machine. With the vertical lift, the panel of this type, it will never hang exactly vertical, it will always have a slight angle to it, but you'll be able to walk that onto the wall and push the bottom edge of the panel onto the wall without too much effort. Once you get close to the wall and you've got the bottom edge on the tray, on the liner, on the angle at the bottom, you can release the safety strap. Just unclip the loop from the spring hook there, pull that away from the panel joint, and then continue positioning the panel until you're happy with it. Once the panel is in position, you need to retain it with 1 or 2 fixings and then release suction. Obviously, don't release suction until the panel is secure and you're happy to do so. Once you've released suction, the machine immediately comes off the panel and can come down for the next panel lift. Just a couple of points about maneuvering panels. If you're lifting the panel through the Clad Boy with a crane, that's quite easy to actually lift the panel and maneuver it where you want it. If you're using a forklift or a telehandler, try to minimize the distance you move using the telehandler or the forklift. So bring your panel packs close to the location where the panels are going to be installed and try to minimize the amount of travel on the telehandler or the forklift. It's pretty common sense, really. So that's the application for vertical wall panels. There's a separate video we'll show you for horizontal wall panels, and there's also another short video that shows you how to change suction pad seals. The seals that are in the machine when it arrives on site are new, and if you look after those seals, they should last you the entire job. The main thing is not to catch the seals on anything, not to let them touch anything apart from the panel surface, and don't leave the machine resting on its seals when you're not using it. Put it back in its transport box so the seals can recover their shape. But if you do have to change the seals, the spare seals are inside the unit, and there are instructions on a small video to show you how to do that. If you have any difficulty doing that, you can always call us. Thank you for listening to this video and watching this video, and if you need any further assistance, please call us. Thank you.